Hello everyone, this is N-GameArts. This is part 4 of my collection of PlayStation 4 games. I got 700 plus games, so we have quite a bit of parts. I wish I could make this one whole video, but there's just absolutely no way this could be one full video. It'd be hours and hours long. But to continue on with it, I have covered three parts of my collection. I will provide links and check them out if you haven't checked them out, so we'll go ahead and jump right into it. First up, we have Digimon World Next Order. Now this is like almost like a reimagine or recreation of the original Digimon game back on PlayStation 1. I remember playing that one long ago, and I just remember having a great time. I remember I grew up loving Digimon. I was never much into Pokemon, and I won't go around claiming I'm a big Digimon fan either, but I always I don't know, something more about Digimon interests me more than Pokemon. I haven't actually really sat down and played that, so I don't really have an opinion of it. Next one is another Digimon Stories Cyber Sleuth. Again, I've played a little bit of it, but I just haven't got around to really dedicate a whole lot of time to it. I do know there's a Switch version that comes with this, and as well as like the sequel expansion, if you will, and they come with all in one cartridge. I believe that one's a much more better version than this, so I've been wanting to pick up the Switch version of this, but there is a standalone expansion version. I don't know if it's an expansion or a sequel. I don't really know. I just know it's another Digimon game of that design way. Moving on, we got Diablo Eternal Collection. This is the US version. Now, I have covered this. This comes with the most updates. I'm sure there's been updates, so it's already outdated. But there's a Diablo Eternal a collection for the PAL version that does not come with the DLC updates on the disc. You have to download it as a free update to get it, while the US version actually has the content on disc. So this is the superior version, the American version of Diablo 3. I don't really have much to say about Diablo 3. I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of Diablo games. I'm not really much of a looter kind of guy who likes to get a bunch of loot and discarding loot, more loot, discarding loot. I don't know, it just gets repetitive pretty quickly for me. But I know Diablo 3 was really atrocious when it first came out, and they did a lot of patches, a lot of expansions to really improve it. I know this game works perfectly just fine offline and unregistered accounts. So, and it's interesting that this is the last one probably we'll see of that, because all these other Diablo games lately have been always online or some kind of live service mechanics and stuff like that. So it's interesting to think that this may be the last official on disc, with everything going digital. This could be the last physical copy of a Diablo game that can be played without needing internet. Moving on, we got Aero. This is a limit run game. It's not the greatest. It's like a rhythm-based kind of game, but I don't know. It just wasn't very good. This is like when I was first buying games from Limit Run, and I wasn't sure what I should be looking into, what I should not be looking into. If I probably go back, I probably never would have bought this, but I won't really say this was a FOMO buy. This is more just an uneducated buy. But in the end, I'm glad to have it on my shelf. Moving on, this one intrigued me, Autonauts. This is like some resource management base building kind of game. I just thought it looked cute. I don't know, I'm just drawn to cute stuff. I thought it looked adorable. I love the cover art and everything like that. Again, it's an indie game, Crave Games. I've never heard of it, so I just was very curious. Like I said, I buy a lot of these, and I didn't spend too much. I think I only spent like $16, $17 for this, but I haven't played it. I played it a little bit, but for what it seemed like a pretty interesting game where you try to like build up automation, like in the name, where you're building up like all these like things to take care of stuff. At the beginning, of course, you start as nothing and then you work your way up. I haven't dedicated enough time to it. Next one is Astoria Ascending. This one's I know was a recent pickup. I know I got this one relatively cheap. I usually wait for Maximum Games to get kind of cheap because their games often release pretty buggy and broken. They're just notoriously bad about that kind of stuff. So when I saw that, then I was like, well, I'm definitely not paying full price for this because they're notoriously bad about release it now, fix it later mentality. So I haven't played it, but it looks interesting. It may not even work. I don't know. I haven't tried it out. So we'll see how Maximum Games did with that. Another one, Asterbreed. I've played a little bit of it. It's interesting. The only thing that's hard about it is that they do a lot of, it's like a on-rail shoot 'em up kind of style game where you're just like flying a ship and you're like diving, weaving and stuff like that and shooting. I only played quite a small portion of it. The only problem is the game it does support English, but there's Japanese voice acting. Nothing really wrong with that. The only real issue is that when you're doing a high-speed action, like I said, like dodging and weaving, they'll often pop up text talking to you, and you're trying to read that as well as play. It's almost just impossible to try to do both at the same time. Or at least I'm not skilled enough to do it. Another one, this one has me very interested. Astalone, Tears of the Earth. I believe that's called Astalone. It's like a Metrovania, I believe, and it's got like a character select where you got like a wizard, mage, and a rogue or thief, and you got like each one has their own abilities. I don't know if you switch between them in your play. I actually have not popped this game in yet. I really should. I don't know. It looked interesting. It's right up my alley. The sprite graphics and interesting art design and concepts. So I'm hoping to really one of these days to sit down and play it. I've looked at it multiple times, and maybe one of the games I'll eventually cover here soon. Another one that had my interest, Aerial Heart. This is a game that's heavily inspired by the classic Super Nintendo Legend of Zelda with its art design and aesthetics. The only problem is the company who published it, Sodesco, they're like Maximum Games. They're pretty notorious of releasing pretty early build versions of games, and they're often pretty buggy. So I usually wait to, when I see that name on something, I usually wait pretty while before the price drops. But I don't know, this one intrigues me. Like I said, I feel bad because I know it's probably done by a smaller studio and people, but I mean, I don't know. They're, like I said, like Maximum Games, Sandesco, and THQ Nordic are three companies that are notoriously bad at releasing very early build versions of games. Next one is Bloodborne Game of the Year Edition. This is only available in the PAL region. Now there is a Japan version, which does support English and everything like that. I have heard both mixed reports about the Japan version, where that it's got more content on the disc, and I've heard it's identical to the PAL version. I don't know. I picked up the PAL version because I knew that this was a guarantee that this comes with the base game and the expansion on disc. This is a must pick up if you're a Souls fan and if you're looking for the most complete version of Bloodborne. Bloodborne is my most favorite From Software game. I've played this game multiple times. I've said this multiple times that I don't have a single tattoo on my body, but if I ever got a tattoo, it would be from Bloodborne. I would get the Hangman tattoo right on my forearm right here, and I would just love every single second of it. I've played Bloodborne multiple times, and if I wasn't doing YouTubing, I probably would play it a bunch more times if I didn't have other games I had to cover. This is a must play. I don't mean to stay on this game for too long, but man, I love the aesthetics, I love the gameplay, I love the environment, the progression. It's not an empty open world. It actually has level design and stuff like that. The bosses are so fascinating. I love the gothic horror, the cosmic horror. I just love that stuff so much, and I love that the fact it's like an RPG horror game. I could go on Bloodborne for a while. I've had to pull myself away multiple times for buying pointless knickknacks and stuff like that of Bloodborne. I want Bloodborne shirts, I want Bloodborne lanterns, I want Bloodborne statues, you name it, anything Bloodborne I would gladly have on my shelf. But that's a lot of wasted money when I could use that money to get more games, and I would rather much play other games than spend playing one game, which I would gladly play this game over and over again. You should definitely try to look to get this Game of the Year edition on your shelf. It's a must pick up. Moving on. Blazing Chrome. This is like a side-scrolling shoot-'em-up style game. It's a limit run game. I played it a fair bit of it. It's actually fairly good. It's not really to my taste, but I did enjoy the game for what it was. It's an interesting shoot-'em-up style game. Maybe if I need to spend a little more time playing it, just haven't had the chance to dedicate too much time with it. It's interesting. I'm glad I have it on my shelf. Moving on, we have Blaster Master Trilogy. This is only available as an import, an Asian release. There are standalone physical copies from Limited Run. They're identical to what this one is on disc. This has 3 games on one disc, while the Limited Run you have to buy 1, 2, and 3 separate discs. As I said, they're identical. Blaster Master 1 and 2 are the most updated version. I believe there were no updates, and they got their DLC and stuff like that. Sadly, Blaster Master 3 is the base vanilla version, but all games work completely offline with an unregistered account. This is a must pick up to have in your collection. Very fun games. I really enjoyed them. Blaster Master was a game that originally released on NES, and it was a phenomenal NES game. And they did a marvelous job at remastering, remaking, rebooting, if you will, of these games. This is a must pick up. Next up, we have Blasphemous Deluxe Edition. This is another really good Metroidvania. I do listen to the soundtrack to this game occasionally. There is a limited run version of this game. It is severely outdated, so bear that in mind. You might want to look into getting the deluxe edition. This one does come with more expansions and DLCs and stuff like that on the disc. This does not come with everything. When this came out, it wasn't that later after that they announced the one more last DLC expansion for the game, so it's very disappointing that Team 17 did not wait to release this physical copy and waited till that last expansion was available on disc. But this is still a must pick up. There is a sequel. I haven't played that or I haven't picked it up. I'm really still hoping they'll release another physical version of this game so I can have the complete version of it. Moving on, we have Borderlands, the Handsome Collection, a phenomenal collection to put on your shelf. This comes with Borderlands 2 and Borderlands the pre-sequel. Not only that, it comes with all the DLCs and expansions on the disc, which again is extremely nice to see, as well as that this does have 4-player split screen, which is a rarity these days. I'm not necessarily a big fan of this game because it is a loot-style game. As I talked about, I'm not really into looters, shooters, hack-em, slash-em looters, stuff like Diablo, but I do appreciate any game that has 4-player split screen, fully playable offline, has all the content, most of all the DLC content on disc. It is a good pack to pick up. It's not really into it's got the loot part that I don't like, and it's semi-open world that I'm not the biggest fan of. I never really could get into it, but I can respect it. It's a must pick up for anybody with offline gaming and wants everything on disc. That is a must pick up. Armored Core Fires of Rubicon, another really good From Software game. Now, the PS4 version is the superior version of this game, where the game runs at a decently steady 60 frames per second, while the PS5 version does dip occasionally. So this is the must pick up if you're a really big fan of this game. The game was enjoyable. I have played Armored Core's games in the past. I did, surprisingly. Some people told me this game was really difficult. I've actually found this game to be extremely and utterly easy. I pretty much one-shot every single boss in this game. I ran one build, and I pretty much ran the entire thing with it. I actually kind of wish the game would get an update to include higher difficulties. I mean, not that I would download it, because I don't play with updates. I only play what's on the disc, but it would be cool to be, like I said, it would be cool if there was a Game of the Year edition, whatever, complete edition, and it had that update on disc, and I would gladly run through this game again at a higher difficulty. But it's still very good. If you're going to pick it up, get the PS4 version. A set of games that I've been very interested in playing, Arafel Enhanced Edition and Rise of the Third Power. These are two JRPGs on disc from Limited Run. Why I'm intrigued, I believe these were made very obviously from the engine RPG Maker. I have dabbled with it myself, so I'm very intrigued because these are smaller JRPGs. They're a limited budgets and design and stuff like that, so I am very intrigued in playing this. It comes with 2 games on 1 disc. Can't go wrong with that. I've been wanting to play this. Moving on. Quaya Lost. Now, I kind of stopped buying these kinds of games from Limited Run because I got, part of my language, pissed off at Limited Run because they keep releasing individual releases like this, and it's really annoying when the Switch is getting like release version of the game with 4 games on 1 cartridge, but here in the US we're getting PS4 versions of 1 release for each game. It's just obvious money gouging and trying to take advantage of the physical collecting community. These games could easily fit 4, maybe more games on 1 disc. It was just gross. I eventually got upset and I stopped buying these from Limited Run. I don't really care. I may pick up the Switch versions. They're only available as an import, but at least they have multiple games on 1 cartridge, and it does support English. Now, I have looked into it, but there are PS4 versions of Asian imports, and they have multiple games on 1 disc, but they don't support English. Now, this does have English. I don't know. I would love more of these games, but I hate the business practice that Lemon Run's doing with this, is releasing individual cases like this. Waste of space, and it doesn't really need it. Next one, Ninth Dawn 3, Shadow of Ethereal. I saw this game. I mean, I'm not really into it. It's another loot game, open world style game, but I like the sprite graphics. I like some of the design aspects of it. This doesn't really fit in the thing, does it? Nope. Don't really got much to say. I know my mom actually plays this game on her phone, and my brother plays it on his PC occasionally. his little mini PC that we got. We recently got him, like, my mom, my dad, and my brother. We recently for Christmas we bought him little tiny little PCs, and they play occasional games and stuff like that, smaller games. And this is one of them my brother plays, and my mom plays this on her phone. And they seem to enjoy it. I don't have much of an opinion. I haven't played it much. I know the game is like a card game. It's kind of like a dungeon crawler where you go through dungeons, but every time you go back in that dungeon, it respawns all the enemies. I don't know. I haven't really played with it too much, but I've heard some pretty good things about it. Moving on. Darksiders, the Definitive Edition, number 2. Now, my brother is a big fan of the series of these games. I don't know if I'm the biggest fan of them, but I'm happy to have it on my shelf, and this comes with all the content on disc. And this is one of the companies I was talking about, Nordic Games. They are notorious. It's either THQ Nordic or Nordic Games, whoever. They're really bad at releasing unfinished versions of games and doing the release it now, fix it later. But this, I haven't played it. I actually have never played this game. I have played the first one quite significantly. I've never beaten it. But again, I'm happy to have it on my shelf, and I'm glad it has all the content and DLC on the disc. And speaking of the devil, we have Darksiders War Master Edition. Again, I've always reached a certain point of when you reach the tower, when you're trying to look for like the third or fourth seal, and I always stop playing it. I don't know what it is. Every time I got to that point in the game, I always stopped playing it. This is another example. This game, while it does work and plays, it is kind of buggy at certain moments in the game because, again, THQ Nordic is notorious at releasing unfinished games and patching them out later. But this is still a good pickup. Don't take this idea that this game does not work offline. It does. You're going to come across some oddities and hiccups. Moving on. We got Alan Wake 2 Remaster. A really good game, though sadly this is a bit of a buggy release. When I was playing it on my PS4, I believe I played it on my PS4, it did a lot of crashes and stuff like that. I've heard other people say they never experienced a single bug or problem. So maybe it was just my bad luck, or they played it on PS5 and they had little to no issue, or they played the PS5 version of Alan Wake 2 Remaster, the PS5 version of the disc version, and maybe that one works better. I need to pick it up and try it out, but still, I beat it. I had fun with it. It's still a really good game, and I really wish the Alan Wake 2, the Alan Wake 2 game would get a physical release. If not, then I'm never buying it. Even though I'm interested in the game and I'm interested in playing the sequel, if it does not have a physical copy, I'm not buying it. Moving on, we got Darksiders 3. Never played it. My brother said he actually really enjoyed this game. He didn't really tell me much, just other than he said he liked it. So, I don't know. I think I got this used. I think I did. I've never played it, so I don't know the quality. And again, it's from THQ Nordic, so we may not be the best experience offline. My brother does update his games, so he's not like me, so I don't know what his experience was like in terms of playing offline. Moving on, another game, Capcom Battle Belt Action Collection. This is a Japan import, and it's only available in Japan. It's got English and everything like that. It's got a bunch of classic Capcom beat-em-up arcade-style games. This was an interesting pickup. I'm not really into these games, but like I said, it's only available in Japan, so I thought it would be really, really cool to have it on my shelf. Again, sucks that it has Japanese text on the side, but that stuff doesn't bug me when it's on my shelf or anything. But again, as long as it supports English and I can play it, what do I care? I'm glad I have it. Moving on, we got 2064 Read Only Memories. It's like a visual novel kind of style mystery game, I believe. I haven't played it. I believe this is like a prequel or a sequel to the game I covered not too long ago called Valhalla, where you play as a bartender. I'm not entirely sure, but sadly, this game, my case got a little water damaged. I had these in games, like my limit runs separate from my main collection, and I had them like zipped up bags, and I guess condensation built up from a cold winter, and it condensated inside the side of the bag, and I got this little bit of wet. Very disappointed by that, but that's my fault. Still, I look interested. Like I said, I like visual novels. I like mystery and just text-based games. Moving on, we got Grime, which is another Metrovania kind of ISK style game. This is still only physically available as an Asian import. I haven't yet to play it. I do know this does come with like 2 of the DLC expansions on disc, but there is a third one that it was not available at the time. I know it just recently released, but that's not on this disc. Hopefully, maybe Limit Run or whoever, we can get a full, complete version. I've yet to play it, but I've heard many good things of it being a really good Metrovania. Moving on, we got another Japan import. This is Bloodstain, Curse of the Moon Chronicles. This comes with Bloodstain 1 and 2 on, I believe, one disc. Yeah. Now, there is limited run versions of these games. That's why you see like this stuff inside the side here. I took the limited run books and stuff like that and stuck it into this because the limited run versions are identical to what's on these on disc. This is just better because I like them all in one case and it saves me space on my shelf. There's no difference between them. This does support full English. It's just I like it because it comes in one box. Saves space on my game shelf. And I just took all the inserts out and put it in that and trade the other ones off and save room. Moving on, we got Blood Rain Betrayal, Fresh Baits. Oh, excuse me. This lane is another limit run style game. I played a little bit of it. It's like a side-scroller action game. I really don't have much to say. I've heard mixed things about it. And then Blood Rain is a game that, surprisingly, I don't know if it's still that popular. You play as a vampire girl, and the game originally released on PlayStation 2. I don't know. I don't got much of an opinion about it. Just haven't really messed around with it. But I'm glad to have it on my shelf. Next one, Bloodstained Ritual of the Night. I believe this was the Kickstarter edition. I actually supported the Kickstarter of this when it first released. Sadly, this game is notoriously pretty buggy. It's beatable, but it's pretty buggy. I was constantly falling through walls and stuff like that, and there's other issues that I experienced. But the game is beatable just from the disc. But I really was thinking that we would get like an updated version of this game at some point. Even if it's just on the Switch, I would gladly have a more updated physical copy because there's so much more content they added later. This is extremely outdated physical copy, and it desperately needs a new print run. But it's overall fairly good Metroidvania. Is it the best Metroidvania I've played? I've seen some people really praise this Metroidvania, and I have to highly disagree. It's good. I'm not saying it's bad, and I don't say it's the best one I've ever played. I've played better ones, but it's an enjoyable. I'm glad to have it on my shelf. Just hopefully we'll see eventually like a PS5 release or something like that to get a more updated physical copy. This one, Ark Survival Evolved. I bought this as a used copy. I don't really have much of an opinion about the game because it is online-esque. You can play the game offline. I do believe it supports split-screen multiplayer, but I can't really say much. Take my words that quote that on me on that. Not really sure. I've never tested this with an unregistered account. I do know there is an updated physical copy of this game called like Ark Survival Evolve, the Expansion Pass or something like that, or Explorer Pass, that does not come with any of the DLC on the disc, but the physical copy is more up to date. I've been wanting to pick it up, but I'm just not that interested in the game to go out of my way to spend that kind of money. But again, I'm happy to have it on my shelf. Maybe one of these days I'll cover it. Moving on, we got Axiom Verge and Axiom Verge 2. This was a limited run release. The Axiom Verge has a standalone physical release, and I used to have that. But then we have this limited run version, which came with Axiom Verge 2, and at this time, that is the only way to get the second game on disc or cartridge on the Switch at this time. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and just trade off my standalone copy, which was a fully updated version. This is fully updated, and just get this, which has both games on one disc. It's a very good it's a very good Metroidvania. Personally, I would say this is a better Metroidvania than like Bloodstained Ritual of the Night. In my personal opinion, very good soundtrack. The first one has a very good soundtrack. I listen to it quite often. I love this cosmic kind of horror it's got going on with it. A very good game. I haven't played the second one, so I have no opinion about that. All's Collection, two other pretty good Metroidvanias. Now, these are basically two games that are a sequel continuation. One is in 8-bit style, and the other one's in 16-bit style. They're like a continuation of the story, but they're almost their own standalone story as well. Again, pretty good Metroidvanias. I did enjoy them for what they were, and it's well worth to put in your collection, especially for a fan of Metroidvanias. Another one that is a PlayStation exclusive. This is Alienation. This is a Housemarque game that got only an Asian release physically. A very good game. Disappointingly, the game only supports one player off disc. You need to update the game if you want to play two players offline. Very, very disappointing. And I'm very disappointed in Housemarque for the release of this game because why would you release this game without offline multiplayer split screen or anything like that? It seemed they sent it out to die immediately. It's a very good game. It's a looter shooter kind of game. I played with my good friend. He really enjoyed this game. Anytime we had a free time, he was more than willing to play this game. It's just, if you want to play 2 players, you got to update the game. And basically, I had it on my online PS5 or online PS4, and I just had it updated on that console and just left it that way. So that whenever it became over, we could play it. Moving on. Astro Cruiser. Esto Cruiser, the Ultimate Edition. I got a lot of hate when I covered this game. This game is a more updated version of this game. It does come with the DLC and stuff like that, but I had a lot of people hate me when I covered this because the game controls are not the greatest. The cars drive like a boat, and I actually had people judging me, saying that you can't really judge a racing game on its controls unless you play with a steering wheel and pedals. It's like, how does that make any sense? That means you can't judge any game unless you play with the dedicated controls. No, a game should be judged at its default setting, which would be an actual controller, and then the other stuff are supposed to be supplementary. That's supposed to make the game a little bit better. But if the default style with a controller does not have the best experience, it doesn't matter about whether you have a steering wheel controller. I'm sorry, that's a mini rant on this. It's still a good game. I'm glad to have it on my shelf and have a most updated version of the game on my shelf, but I just personally didn't really enjoy it. And just the controls of it. Another one that's actually really good, Assault Suit Linus. This is actually a fairly good side-scrolling shoot 'em up. It's all in Japanese, but it's got English subtitles. Very, very good game. There is a sequel coming out here soon. I think it's only going to get an Asian import physical copy, but I enjoyed this game. I love just shooting, blasting my way through the game and everything like that. It is a remake of an older game, I think called the same thing, and that was like a Commodore 68 kind of release game. I can't remember. That's not the right console, I know. I'm saying it's one of those kinds of consoles that were not the main ones at the time, like Sega Genesis or NES. I can't quite remember. Don't send hate because I don't remember. But regardless, this is a good game, and it's well worth your pickup. I have noticed the price is going up a little bit on this, so might keep that in mind if you're going to pick up a copy, that it might get pricey down the road. Moving on, Assassin's Creed Rogue Remastered. I actually am not a fan of Assassin's Creed games, obviously, because they're open world games, but I do try to pick them up. I saw this and I picked it up. I know it was a used copy. Again, I've only ever played one Assassin's Creed game, and that was the first one, which I did play it and beat it. And then I played the second one, and then I immediately hated the character. I believe his name was Ezio. I think that was his name. I immediately did not like his character. Then I immediately put the game down and never picked up another Assassin's Creed since then. Again, I just have it on my shelf as for collective purposes. I don't ever intend to play one unless people really, really want me to cover it. Next one, we have Avon Colony. This is another kind of city builder, which I've played a good portion of this game. My brother really played this game. He really enjoyed it a lot. It's an interesting kind of city builder. We are building up a city on different worlds, and there's a snow planet, jungle planet, desert planet, and they all got their problems and stuff you have to try to work through, like making air, water, food, and trying to survive environmental hazards and stuff like that. If you're into those kinds of games, check this out. It might be well worth your time. Next one, we have Assassin's Creed, the Ezio Collection. This, I believe, was another used copy. Can't quite remember. Can't imagine myself buying an Assassin's Creed game brand new. But overall, I don't have an opinion of it. I know a lot of people really enjoy the Assassin's Creed games. I know a lot of people love Ezio. I'm not one of those people. Again, I don't got much of an opinion. I don't play Assassin's Creed games. And I don't really play open world games. Moving on, Baldo, the Guardian Owls, the Three Fairies edition. This is a game that's got a Studio Ghibli mixed with Legend of Zelda inspired theme style game. I've been very intrigued. I heard the game when it first released was extremely buggy and broken, and there was other issues. But I haven't played the Fairy edition, which does come with an expansion DLC on disc, and I haven't played it, but I did mess around a little bit with it. Seemed interesting. I may definitely want to try to cover this game at some point. Another one, Baja Edge of Control HD. This is a THQ Nordic game. I actually mostly bought this for my nieces. When they came over, they had to stay here for a few days because there was issues, and so I went and bought this game because the game supported 4-player split screen, and the girls really enjoyed it. But we did notice some bugs and issues about the game. They the game would crash if you try to load up a certain level and stuff like that. It had problems. Again, that's not surprising. THQ Nordic, they're notorious for releasing buggy games and fixing it later. But the girls loved it, and I'm happy I was able to pick that game up for them so they can have some fun. Gunvolt Striker Pack. I'm not a big fan of the Gunvolt games. I'm not, I don't know. I know they're Mega Man inspired games, but I played this, I played one of them. I don't know if I played this one, it was a different one. And I just couldn't get into it. I don't know, I think it was just too flashy, or the screen was just too close to the character. You couldn't see enough around your environment. Even though it's supposed to be all fast paced, you couldn't really see what you were doing. I couldn't really get into it, but I'm glad to have it on my shelf. Another one, a really good game, Concrete Genie. Sadly, the studio who created this, Pixel Opus, is no longer around. Sony shut down the studio. This is a very good game. It's very good up till near the end, where the game's style and approach really changes, where it becomes more like a hack and slash. I was very disappointed in that. I really liked the artistic design and making the environment, creating these graffitis and stuff like that, and having it come alive. That was really cool. But later on the end of the game, it becomes like some beat 'em up. You gotta whack them with your stick. I thought that broke the theme of the game. I really liked the idea of a non-violent game, and you were trying to do these artistic designs to solve puzzles and stuff like that. I think they messed up near the end, but I don't know if that could not have been Pixel Opus. I could definitely see some CEO stepping in. It's there needs to be action in the game. We gotta have some combat in the game. Maybe they were forced to do that. Don't know, but sadly, this was the last game they released before Sony closed them down, and I'm really happy to have it on my shelf. Check it out. Also, the VR mode is not required to platinum this game. Just bonus information for you. Next up, we have Estrina Nectis. This is an import. I really don't know if this is a PAL or Asian. It doesn't actually have no rating whatsoever. Don't know. I know there's ratings on the disc. I know this game comes with some content on the disc. It is more an updated version. It's a Metrovania. I know they recently released a DLC expansion to the game, so it is already outdated. But from what I've seen, it looks really interesting. I've heard some really good things about it. Another one, but for some reason, I keep forgetting I have it, and I've been wanting to play it, is Angus Defenders. It's like a side-scrolling tower defense style game. Don't know much about it, but I just been very intrigued into it. I don't know. I like tower defense games. I like strategy and base buildings and stuff like that. So I've been very interested in playing it, but I just keep forgetting to sit down and actually play it. Move on. We have Entogrammy, Eragami. I'm probably getting that name all the way wrong. Collector's Edition. This is, again, if it's a Maximum Games, so this I know this game has some issues on the physical copy, but there is a Switch version of this that works pretty good, and it does come with the DLC on the cartridge. So if you're going to find this game, pick up the Switch version. That is the best version you're going to want to pick up. But overall, it seems like an interesting game. Just sadly, like I said, it's a Maximum game, so it's always going to release some kind of release it now, fix it later mentality. Moving on, we have the Classic Collection, Doom. Now, this is the reprint version of the game. If you don't know, Limit Run printed this physical copy of this. When they first printed it, there was an issue where Doom 1 and 2 would not work offline with an unregistered account, but it would work with a registered account offline. But if you played with an unregistered account offline, Doom 1 and 2 would not work. It would constantly pop up with a blue screen telling you that you're not connected to the internet. Basically left 1 and 2 unplayable. Doom 3 was fully playable, and it comes with all the expansion and DLC on the disc. But later on, Limit Run did a quick apology thing for it, where you were able to send your physical copy in, and they would replace the disc with a new updated version that will allow you to play Doom 1 and 2 with an unregistered account offline. But sadly, they only replaced the disc. They didn't change the box art or anything like that. So there's absolutely no way to actually verify which one you have unless you ask the person who's selling it, hey, Nujin, can you test this offline to make sure you're getting the one you're going to want? Because this is going to be the superior version of these games. Especially if, like, Sony's account system shuts down, or Sony's a business shuts down, whatever. this is the only way you're going to play 1 and 2 offline with an unregistered account. Literally gotta have it on my shelf. I've been wanting to cover it, both of them, the base one and the reprint version. If you bought your copy of this at Best Buy, you have the bad copy. The copy requires a registered account to play offline. The only way you can get the fixed version, you had to send your copy to Limited Run, and they're not doing that anymore. So there's only a very finite copies of this fixed version out there. Moving on, we got Donut County, a game that I highly adore. I have played it multiple times. I have covered it recently on my channel. It's a pretty rare game. It's not worth picking up because of how expensive it's becoming, but I really enjoyed this game. If you love games like Katamari, where you kind of do some kind of weird thing, like make some ball bigger or something like that, but instead you make a hole bigger and you absorb more stuff. It's a very short game. You can beat the game easily within like 3, maybe 4 hours. If you wanted to 100% the game, you'll probably take 5, maybe 6 hours. But overall, I just love the story, the characters. I've always come back to this game. Because it's just a quick, cozy play it over the weekend or just in a day and have some fun. Whole New World. This game really intrigued me. I really thought I liked the aesthetic and the idea of like falling to the ground and the whole world inverts. It really got my attention. I did play a little bit of it. It's actually a fairly difficult game, last time I remember. But it's another 2D sprite style game. It's an indie game, so it really grew my attention, so I picked it up. Another one, probably one of the best 3D platformers on PlayStation 4. Now this is better than the Switch version, just letting you know. This does come with DLC on the disc, while the Switch version only has the base game. Sadly though, this does not come with everything on the disc. It doesn't come with like the last chapter where I can't forget what it's called, but it's like you're like running for the mafia or something like that, and you got like a cat mask. That's not on the disc, and that's not even a redeem code. You have to legitimately pay money for it. But this game is phenomenal. Great music, great gameplay. This is a must pick up if you're a 3D platformer or you love really cutesy games like I do. I'm really hoping we'll see a sequel, and I'm really hoping we'll get another reprint physical copy that will include all the content on disc. That's a must pick up for 3D platformer. I think these are all connected, yes. 8-bit armies, 8-bit hordes, and 8-bit invaders. Now, interestingly enough, I bought all 3 of these. These are all actually pretty much one game on 3 discs. Why I say that is that they're like a strategy game, like a typical Command & Conquer RTS style game, which I really, really enjoy those kinds of games. The main problem is they're like connected. So if you like install this one, let's say you install 8-bit invaders onto your console, you get to play the story of it and everything like that, and you have the levels from that. But if you install, let's say, 8-bit hordes, you have this campaign on this disc, but once they see they're both installed, you have both levels of each one as a regular skirmishes. So if you have all 3 installed, each one has its own campaign, but if all 3 are installed and you're playing skirmish mode, you can play all the levels because you have all 3 games installed. Basically, all 3 of these games could have easily been its own one release. And that would have been really cool because this easily would have all fitted on one disc because they're not even that big. So this is 2 gigabytes, this is 2 gigabytes, this is 2 gigabytes. So all 3 of these games could have fit on one disc. But I played a little bit of it. Pretty cool. I love RTSs. And if you're a fan of it, check it out. Just make sure, like I said, you need to buy pretty much all 3 if you want to have the full complete package. Next one is Earhart, Tales of the Broken Wings. I haven't really played too much. I know it's like a roguelike style game. It's from Limited Run. I haven't played much of it. I don't really have much of an opinion. I know it's like a top-down, shoot-'em-up kind of style game. I just haven't played it. Seems interesting, though. Moving on. These are back again when I was buying these. As Divine Hearts. This is like the first one they released. This is that games I was telling you about when they're abusing their customer base by releasing one copy when all these games. No joke. I have the Switch version of this that comes with all 4 games from this series of As Divine Hearts on one cartridge. And here's Limit Run selling each one on PS4 on one disc. They're highway robberying people, and they're just taking advantage of the physical game collecting community. And I got disgusted with them, and I stopped buying them. So if I'm going to buy any more of these kinds of style, I don't know if you can see the name. I don't know if Kameko brand, I'm just going to get the Switch version because you should really try to do that too. Next one is Borderlands Game of the Year Edition. This is a remaster of the original first Borderlands. I believe this was a GameStop exclusive, if I recall. It does come with all the content on disc. It's got 4-player split screen, fully playable offline. If you like the Borderlands game, this is a must pick up. I'm not a big fan of it, but who cares? It's a good physical copy to have on your shelf. Next up is BioShock The Collection. This comes with BioShock 1, 2, and BioShock Infinity on one disc. I have all the discs, all the manuals from the PlayStation 3 games in here. Here's both discs. I put them all in here just because I don't have any more. I sold all my PS3 games, so I put those manuals into here so I have the manuals. Now, this might upset people. I'm not a big fan of BioShock. I played 1 and 2. They were alright. Then I played BioShock Infinite. And boy, oh boy, BioShock Infinite was such a bad game that I actually now have a newfound appreciation for BioShock 1 and 2. BioShock 1 and 2 now are better games to me because BioShock Infinite was such a bad game. I have no sympathy for the developers shutting down because after BioShock Infinite, it's like, I have no idea what happened to that studio. Moving on. We have Assassin's Creed 3 Remastered. This is the only Assassin's Creed game I actually have any remote interest in playing because you get to play as a Native American. You don't get a lot of Native American games, so I thought it was really cool. It's the only one I'm interested in. And it does also include Assassin's Creed 3 Liberations on disc as well, so that was a good pickup for that. But I've heard bad things about Assassin's Creed 3. I've heard a lot of people say it's not a good Assassin's Creed game. I don't know. It's the only one I'm interested in playing, and I may play it at some point. Next up, we have After Image Deluxe Edition. This is a Metroidvania that I've heard many, many good things for the Metroidvania community on this. Graphically, it looks really neat. I just haven't had a chance to play it. I've had it up for vote a few times, and it never won the vote, so I guess people are not really interested in seeing that one being covered. Next up, we have Bomb Chicken. I have covered this game. It's very good. It's like a puzzle solver kind of game. I don't know. I really enjoyed the game. It's got some great mystery involved about the blue goo and what it is and what it's come from. But overall, really cool game. I really enjoyed it. Moving on, we have the double collection of Bayonetta and Vanquish on one case. This was a must pick up. This is the only last Bayonetta games that got released on different consoles other than the Switch. Happy to have this. Yeah, that's right. It only comes on one disc. I didn't know if I couldn't remember if it came on 2 separate discs. But overall, yeah, happy to have it. I won't necessarily say I'm the biggest Bayonetta fan, and I won't say I'm a Vanquish fan, but I'm more than happy to have this on my shelf. Oh, gosh. Moving on, we have Batman Return to Arkham. This comes with Batman 1 and 2 on, I believe, 1 disc. No, 2 discs. And I got it all covered. I got all the manuals and stuff like that here. And the 3D glasses that came with the PS3 version all on here. I haven't played this one. This is a re-release of like a remaster because it's on a new engine. I really wish they didn't do that because I know this has a ginormous update for each game. Because they transferred the engine and now since they moved the engine, they created bugs. I really would rather them just kept the same engine and just released it because now you got a buggy copy for PlayStation 4. I haven't played it. It may work just fine, but I have yet to play it. Moving on, we have Baldur's Gate Enhanced Edition and Baldur's Gate 2 Enhanced Edition. I recently looked at the. This is going for really high now. I've seen places trying to sell a brand new copy for like $100 or more. I'm assuming it's due to Baldur's Gate 3 popularizing the Baldur's Gate games, and since this is the only way you can get a physical copy on new consoles other than getting a PC, I'm sure a lot of people have been buying these to get the appreciation of where Baldur's Gate came from 1, 2, and 3, or that they're such big fans now of Baldur's Gate Baldur's Gate games. They're like, oh, I'm now a big fan. I want all the games. So I haven't played them yet. I've never played a Baldur's Gate game yet. Luckily I bought this when it was like $15. Moving on, we have Battle Chef Brigade Deluxe. This is like a puzzle solving, crafting, kind of monster fighting kind of game where you fight monsters to get recipes to cook dinners to like an Iron Chef where you try to make the best dinner to become the next king chef. I don't know, it seems interesting. Again, those weird games that got weird concepts always intrigue me, and I'm always happy to add a new one to my shelf. Next one, we have Mutation Nanani. I'm probably getting that all wrong. I've heard some good things about it. I don't really know what the game is. I don't even know if it's a Metrovania. I don't know anything about it. I just know that I've seen it go for a pretty pricey bit, as well as that it's got some pretty good reviews on Steam. I haven't played it, so I have no opinion of what the style of the game is, or even if I like it. Next up, we have Blood Rain Revamped and Blood Rain 2 Revamped. This is a limited run when they released the PlayStation 2 port versions. Now, these are just ports. They're not like remasters of these games. It's the PlayStation port versions that they did for PlayStation 4, where they did like enhanced versions of the games. I believe so. I don't believe these are like HD remastered or anything. They're just simple ports of the PS2 games on... I should probably open them up for you guys. For PlayStation 4. I have yet to play it, so I got no opinion of how well the port is. But, again, I'm happy to pick it up. Anytime games get a new reprint run, I'm always happy. I don't care how many times you want to print something, keep printing it, because I'm always happy to see more physical copies of the same game, no matter how many times. Alright. Whew, that's the final end of that stack. I have now covered, this is the part 4. I hope you enjoyed this and it was very fun. I still got so many more videos and so many more games to go over. So again, I have other parts available, part 1, 2, and 3. I will provide links if possible at the description, or there is a playlist of all the videos I've done. So thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next part. Bye-bye!